Hello there, and welcome to Journey of a New GM. My name is Edward, and in this video we are going to be talking about Mutiny at Zero and the campaign that I made. If my players are listening to this campaign, to this video or watching this video, I ask you now to switch it off. You know who you are. This campaign is a sort of bastardization of various modules and inspiration taken from various forms of things that I've read, as well as ideas and things in the book, the main campaign, as well as expansions, etc., that I have taken and then transformed or melded or done stuff with in order to fit it into my world. The world which I have is, I unfortunately do not have a map to show you. Well, at least I don't have a nice electronic map. I do, however, have a hand-drawn map which I created because I am all about the pen and paper, because my skills in making maps on technology, on computers, etc., is pretty diabolical if it's not easy. Having to draw things on a computer is pretty crap for me, unless it involves geometric shapes, in which case geometric shapes are nice and easy. I just use Paint, the Microsoft app Paint application. So using things like Dungeon Fog and I do actually use WonderDraft for the other campaign, for the other world that I'm creating, but that's something else. However, things like Dungeon Fog are just what? No, I just don't understand them. That's entirely my fault. I have not spent the time to look into it. I've not spent the time looking into how it works, how to use these things, so it's entirely my fault for not doing so. But in terms of ease of access, I went to the thing which I knew, which was pencil and paper. So that's what I've done. I hopefully will be able to take a photo of the map which I created and throw it onto this video, but we'll see. If so, then you'll see it on screen now. If not, then my apologies, I haven't been able to do so. Anyway, the world which I've created doesn't exist. It is a fictitious land on planet Earth, and it has quite a lot of some inspiration has been drawn for it from my own background. So my own background is from the UK and from Ireland. So quite a lot of inspiration comes from those two places. If I manage to throw the map on screen, you'll see now that there's a massive circular city. The idea for that came from London, weirdly enough, because London has a motorway that runs around the outside of it. It's called the M25, and that is literally the boundary of London. That is the uttermost outskirts of London, and London does not exist beyond that road. So my city is bordered by this motorway ring road, and that is the uttermost boundary of that city. It does not extend beyond it. There are occasional towns. There's a military base outside it. There are occasional towns, etc., around the place, but they are not part of the city, part of that massive, dominating city within this space. You'll also see there. I can't remember if I put. I think I did anyway. You'll see it. If not, I'll tell you now. Some of the names I've come up with for the cities and the towns, etc., that are around the area are based upon Irish English names. So, for example, Ballymote or Ballygannon or Ballybranach and Glengoch and all those. No, Glengoch is Scottish, but Sligo, Belfast. Names like that with Irish-sounding names have come from. I have used in my map, in my world, and this world is a fictitious land on planet Earth. The land at this present moment is dominated. Well, it's not dominated. It's it's gone all to shit, basically. Um, Almost like what we're going through right now. It's kind of scary, to be honest. Effectively, what's happened is the world. There was a massive world war, which caused fallout because nuclear weapons were used. And that caused a fallout, and then once the world had kind of picked itself back up from that, there was a serious disease that went round. And was because of bills, as in money, etc. Was spread through money and not through normal virus contact. When that's led to even further death and destruction, and then that mutated with the fallout from the world, etc. So yeah, it's gone a bit alter pot, really. Talking of pot, I have my teapot beside me, so I'm just going to pour myself a cup of tea right now. But effectively, it all went to pot, and those humans that were left basically fled the Earth and are now orbiting the Earth in satellites. There are 5 satellites for various scientists, experts, politicians, legal people, people of high rank, etc. They are now orbiting the Earth in satellites, basically keeping an eye on it, seeing when it will recover. Of course, not everybody, not all the scientists, politicians, experts, and what have you, were able to get on these satellites because, unfortunately, you can't fit 7 billion people onto 5 satellites in space. So, quite a few people were left behind. These people obviously had to try and make a living, etc., basically try and overcome. And through time, etc., because it's taken a good 200 years for this whole thing to settle down, through time has led to being transformed into Zungals, effectively, basically through degeneration, through having to cope with cancerous growths, lesions, being incredibly ill and sick, and the only way for their bodies to survive was to actually, become Zungals, effectively. And the Zungals are effectively humans who have very translucent, pale skin, are very weak. They are shorter because they have to be. They have to naturally become shorter because in order to preserve heat, etc. They become shorter, and their skin is translucent, and they are more vulnerable to sunlight. Sounds like a bit like a vampire, to be honest. They're not, but they are called Zungals because of that. There are also other creatures which exist. There are basically mutant fish, mutant bears, animals. Everything has become effectively mutated because of this fallout. However, my players, excuse me a minute, my players are... they are playing mutants, but they are genetically modified human beings. And these genetically modified human beings have been made by those in space, those in the satellites. They have been made by them. So, but they don't know that. They don't know that. They simply were born with mutations, so they've only ever known mutations, etc. But unfortunately, that's what they are. I'll not go into the whole history about that. There is a full background into that as well, but there's a full background into why humans were mutated. Humans were given mutations, and the mutations can be anything. Mutations can be human plant, which means allowing somebody to basically photosynthesize for food, or to create bark skin, or to create thorns which they can use to hurt, or wings, or sonar, or being able to breathe fire, being able to be telepathic. There is a huge amount of difference in mutation that a character can have. My players at this present moment, so if you remember from the... Did I say in the last one or the previous one? I can't remember. Either way, my players, my Stalker, has, well, started off with the mutation of, excuse me, that's somebody outside the window driving past. Started off with the mutation of chameleonic skin, so basically lizard skin. Unfortunately, through the campaign, he has mutated himself and gained 3 additional mutations, which is good, but also not good. I'll get into how that works later. The Stalker, that is the Stalker, sorry, the Chronicler has human plant and is currently still a human plant. Has not gained any mutations. Has not been hurt or affected by her using her mutations, and that's it. Has been okay with that. And the Gearhead in my campaign has insect wings, and is perfectly fine, I'm going to say right now, except for the fact that he now has faceted eyes. Yeah, purely cosmetic. It doesn't actually do anything. It is purely cosmetic. But yeah, his eyes are now insect eyes, effectively. So yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, so the mutations can be anything, and mutants can also gain mutations, as you have now seen, as I've now said. The mutations are random. They're completely random. In order to gain a mutation, you have to first use your mutation. And this doesn't sound too bad, to be honest, when you put it like that. However, when you use a mutation and your mutant powers run out of your control, you take damage. You take permanent damage, and that can be anything. Gather the thoughts here. There are 4 attributes that every character has. That's strength, agility, wit, and empathy. And when you gain a new mutation, one of those attributes permanently decreases. Permanently. There is a way of being able to get all those things back, but you effectively lose something. And should any of those attributes reach 0, you die. So it's a 1 in 36 chance of that happening, but has been seen, my Stalker now has 4 mutations, so it's happened 3 times. So it is possible. Excuse me while I take a sip of tea. So it does actually happen. Those are the mutants. They are genetically modified human beings, so they are slightly taller, they're slightly stronger, or whatever else. What else from the background can I set up? The place they live is a place called the Ark, and it is led by a character called the Elder, who, for those of you listening, my players, if you're still listening to me, you are now banned from playing my game. No, you're not really banned from playing a game, but don't spoil it for yourselves. Go away. Stop listening. Anyway, my players are unlikely to listen to this anyway, but either way, get lost. Don't go listening to this. The Elder is he's a scientist. He is a scientist. He's one of the scientists that was part of the program to create a genetically modified human being, to create a mutant. He is one of them. And he has led. He left a place called Eden, which was where the experiments took place. He left a place called Eden and because of troubles with colleagues of his, so he left and took many of the children with him. And he wasn't the only one. There were also other scientists that also left at the same time. So he left, and took a good portion of the children to the area where they are now, which is to the southeast, very very corner southeast, where if I flashed up my map, you'll see there it says Ark. That is their home. Their home is effectively a campsite. It's effectively a campsite with caravans and tents, etc. It's effectively a massive campsite and houses about 200 people, 200 mutants. And they are led by this character called the Elder. However, the Elder is now old. He is infected by something called the Rot, which is effectively what is the fallout from the nuclear war and illness and mutation from the illness, etc. It's basically the fallout from that, from the apocalyptic stuff that happened. He is now basically he's filled with the Rot. He is dying effectively, and the Ark is not in a good shape. Really, I'm going to say the Ark is it's not collapsed. They're still surviving, but the people are slowly dying, and there are no children in this Ark. There are no children in this Ark because mutants are, as in the genetically modified human beings, are sterile to each other. They are completely sterile to each other. They cannot produce children, and that's why there are no mutant children running around. However, should a mutant, genetically modified human being, mate with a Zerngul, because that's a thing that can happen, should a genetically modified human being, a mutant, mate with a Zerngul, that can produce children. And they are also mutants. But they are mutants which have control over their mutation. So, yeah, that's a big issue. However, as previously stated, my players don't know this. Well, their characters don't know this, at least. My players are very intelligent, and actually I've been sort of kind of joining the dots as things are going along, and it's wonderful. I'm loving it. I'm really loving how that's working. But the player characters don't know this. Bit of tea there. So that's the setup. What are we doing for time here? Ooh, okay. So I've been talking for a little while now, and if I don't stop it now, I'm going to be talking in this video is going to be for a good half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour long. So I'm going to cut it out here and come back in the following video where I talk about the first mission of my naive, wonderful, inquisitive and distrustful player characters, Danko, Brawn and Patch. See you in the following video, and good luck with the future.